Hey, it's Hutch from Hutch High Perf, back at it. Got my tarp down. You know what that means.
Oh no.
No, not that. Don't tell Jimmy.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
He's gone. He's gone.
Oh, I said don't tell him. How'd he take it? Let's roll the intro. Well, if you remember where I left you, it was the valve cover that I altered so I could have the Oldsmobile at the front because I'm stubborn and I want things my way. So that took a lot of work, more than I thought it was. Even for the valve cover that I didn't do any work to except put the little baffle cover on the inside, those things, I mean, all right, it's General Motors. It was like, what, the late 70s, so, you know, they're cranking those things out. The stamps were, those things were just lumpy bumpy, man. I mean, I had to do a bunch of hammering and a bunch of work, just even on the one that didn't do any modifying to, really. It's just a mess. Anyway, so I got that done, and I did the body work, if you want to call it that, on the other valve cover, and here she is. Not bad. I mean, it's still got a couple of flaws here and there, but honestly, I'm worn out from doing this thing. The amount of hammering and filling and hammering and priming, sanding and priming, I'm done. So I'm giving it one last coat of primer and then the blue goes on. A little bit of the Thornton 455 blue metallic. First light coat. It's just like all of these spray bombs. It's 5 to 10 minutes. So this is going to take a little bit because I've got to do spray. I think it's 2 light coats, then your heavy coat. So I'm looking at spray, 10 minutes, spray, 10 minutes, spray again. So you're looking at 20 to 30 minutes to get this done. But I got something to do in the meantime. So these are the 3/8 spacers I got to be able to make the valve covers fit. And I've already sprayed those out with the blue metallics. And now I can just peel all of this tape off and we can go ahead and put these on the car. All right, over to the car. We're going to clean up our surface here on the head. So we've got to glue down our spacer. Now, some will go the route of using a gasket on both sides. And you can do that, and that's fine. But I am going to use some silicone. And I'm going to glue the 3/8, glue this 3/8 spacer to the head. Come here. And that'll take care of that. Just got to make sure we got a nice clean surface here. And then we'll do the same thing to our spacer and we'll be ready to go. Ah, I hit that same spot again. Dummy. So I'm just getting pieces of lint from this rough edge. All right, let's go clean up our spacer. And I'm going to make a mess, so I need to get some gloves. Like I have said, with all the other uses of silicone, you don't need to use this stuff in abundance. A little bit goes a long way. And what's the use if it just smooshes out the other side? So a little bit is better than a lot. This is what you want, right? You want to be able to have a skim coat where these parts are going to adhere and glue themselves together. But if you put some giant bead on, all you're doing is pushing a bunch of silicone out the sides of whatever you're trying to put it on. So there's no point in that. And there will be a little bit of seepage out of this when I tighten the bolts down. And then it makes it very easy to just run along with a shop towel and get that little bit of extra off and then make it look very nice. All right. I'll be careful to get this down just where I want it. I'll get a bolt or two run down on this so it stays where I want it to. There we go. And that's why you have extra. Because of course you want to drop it. It makes it easier if they're on the floor where you can't get them. All right, a little 7/16 action here. Run everything down. Get it nice and right where I want it. Again, we're not trying to send these things to the moon here. I'm just getting everything snugged down so it's nice and fitted to the head. And then we're going to come back. Because this is spray balm, I'm hesitant to hit it with anything that's got a cleaner on it because I'm afraid that it's going to take the paint right off of it. You ever notice with silicone, it's kind of like, it's almost like anti-seize. You get a little bit out of the tube, and next thing you know, it's on the ceiling. Like, how'd that get there? Stuff goes everywhere. Okay, so now we just let that set up and I can go back to more coats of paint on that valve cover. And then of course it's got to sit for hours. It'll be instantaneous for you, but for me, it's going to take a little bit. Well, as you can see, the passenger side is already done. Had to do that because it's so daggone tight to the AC unit back there that I keep having, if you remember, I had to pull the bolt at the bottom for the engine mount and then put it on the hoist and actually lift it and get it to tilt this way so I get the valve cover on and off. It's a pain, and if I'd known that ahead of time, I probably would have notched that box so that wouldn't be an issue. But it is what it is. Growing pains for putting a big block where a small block should be. Anyway, so that side is done, like I said, and now it is just on this side. I removed the bolts, and this is now glued in place. So all we got to do now is get our valve cover on this side. Let me show you. It looks pretty good. So there she is. There's like a little trace of a line right here, and it's more a problem with my welding than anything else. But if you remember, I just cut the entire opening on this side and then took the Oldsmobile from here, put it over there, and then took the piece I cut there, put it over there. So for the way it turned out, yeah, I wish it looked a little bit better, but I'm going with this, and I'm happy with it, and I think it's going to look good on the car, and probably no one else is going to recognize that this has been changed except me, and I don't care. That's the way I like things. Okay, so now all that's left is to get this thing put on the car, and I'm using a Felpro cork gasket. Manufacturer says don't do anything. Don't need to put any glues, sealants, any of that stuff. Just put the thing on. It seals all by itself. Doesn't need any help. I'm not doing that. I only do a slight modification. All I do is I put a little bit of silicone on the rail of the valve cover on the inside, and I glue this bad boy to the valve cover. It just makes it easier getting on, it makes it easier getting off. It's just because this thing just like it flops around, and it's a pain, and I'd rather not deal with that. So I just put it on the valve cover, makes rocker adjustments or anything else you have to do when you have to get underneath the valve cover so much easier, because when you pull the valve cover off, this isn't glued on one side to the head, but it's glued on the other side to the valve cover and just comes on with it. And as long as it's not messed up or anything, you just put it right back on. Anyway, let's get going. All right, so this is even less silicone than what you would normally do, because now I'm not trying to get this to seal. I'm not trying to get it to do anything except just hold the valve cover gasket in place. So I'm going to be using just a tiny, slight little bit, just enough to give it a little bit of hold. And it doesn't need to be everywhere, because again, this is not being used to seal. This is just being used to grab the gasket, hold it in place. So I put it on a couple of the rails close to where the bolt goes in, and that is it. Like I said, just enough to get the gasket to glue down and hold in place. Then it'll go on. All right, let's put our gasket down. Whoops. Be good if I put it on the right way. Yeah, that's the first step in putting the gasket on correctly. It's actually putting it on the right way. All right, so clean up any splooges we had anywhere. Looks good. Now we're ready for the car. The valve cover kit that I got from alloybolts.com came with valve cover bolts and these perfectly milled washers, all stainless. But of course, because I'm using the 3/8 spacer, the bolts are too short, so I just ran out to the hardware store, got myself some stainless bolts to match the rest of the hardware, and That'll be that. So I'm going to put these together real quick, and then a little bit of blue Loctite on the bolts, and we're ready to go. All right. I'll sit there long enough for me to get a couple of these bolts started. Again, a little blue Loctite, just to give them a little something to hold them. Come on, don't fall. I still haven't gotten that bolt off the floor. And again, we're dealing with a cork gasket here, so we're not trying to reef these things down. There's no metal core, there's no spacers built into the bolt hole openings that won't let you crush it. You tighten this thing too much, you could split the cork gasket or distort it, and then what's the purpose? So I'm using the old calibrated feel to get it just snug. Best not to use an extension, because sometimes the extension will not let you feel how tight something is getting. So you'll give it something really weak like this, or delicate, I would say. I like doing it socket right on the ratchet, so you can feel that resistance. I don't know, maybe whatever I'm saying is just ridiculous, but I've always got the feeling that I get a better reading of how something is tight when the socket is right up on the ratchet versus an extension. All right, I think that's it for that. You know, as always, I don't have to tell you guys, I really appreciate you being here. I've been doing this for a very long time. It's been slow going. I just do it whenever I get the money. I got a full-time job that takes a lot of my time away, and family, children, grandkids now. So, yeah, there's a lot on my plate. So this isn't my full-time job. So what I do here is just, it's my hobby. So I can't get in that algorithm because I'm not going to be able to pump out a video every Saturday, every Sunday, every Monday, whatever that is. Just can't do it because it's not in the cards, at least not right now. So for everyone who's stuck around to watch these videos, who's left comments, likes, whatever, I really, really do appreciate that. It kind of keeps me going, because there's been a couple of times where I thought, I could just work on the car and I'd be faster because I wouldn't have to stop and film. And then, oh, I messed up on what I said, so now I got to film it again. And yeah, so it takes longer to work on something when you have to worry about filming it, unless you just don't care how it comes out, which I kind of do. So I try to make it factual, and you know, if I mess up or I flub up on the way I say something, I try not to let that get in there. Anyway, maybe I should just like raw dog it and let it go how it goes. I don't know. Anyway, what I'm trying to say for running my mouth here is I appreciate you guys being here. So if you want to hit that subscribe button down there, do the like, leave a comment, whatever you want, it's more than appreciated. It really is, honestly. So let's go over and look at my handiwork so far. So I don't know if you have noticed this, I noticed it, that when I start putting stuff on the car, like just for instance, this valve cover, when I was putting it on, I didn't say, oh, I got to put the valve cover on the engine. I said, I got to put the valve cover on the car, which is great because for the longest time, everything on this vehicle, I've been like, oh, I got to put this onto that. I got to put this onto that. And I've never really considered it or used the language or had the thought that it was a whole car, because I had everything torn down into so many pieces that I was just like, well, I got to put the front bracket on the engine, or I got to put the master cylinder. I never thought of it as a car. It didn't enter into it. And I seem to be catching myself as of late saying, oh, I got to put this on the car, which is great. I love that my mind is starting to sink into the idea that this thing is a car, and I'm past the point of taking stuff off and I'm putting everything back on, and it's really exciting. For most channels, this all happens in the course of a year and the car's done. For me, it's been a very long time, so I've been used to this vehicle being in pieces forever. So the fact that we've gotten this far is, to me, just fantastic. And God, it's every time I look at the car, I think there's so much more that needs to be done. It's almost exhausting when you just look at everything. But like my buddy told me, the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So that's all I'm doing. I'm trying to get everything one bite at a time out. And the next bite is going to be this intake manifold. So I probably already talked about this. Let me move this here. There's a bung over on this side. This is where you put your coolant temp sensor. Except on an Oldsmobile, it's over here, which is on the wrong side. So I'm trying to run the wiring harness exactly how it went on the car. So I'm trying to get all that done. I'm going to use this one over here as the coolant temp sensor that runs my coolant fans. And then what I'm going to do is cut a hole in this bad boy, and I don't think there's enough meat to do threads. And I think I've already talked about this in another video. I actually bought a bung for this, a welded bung. So I got a guy. So all I got to do is get the hole drilled out, and then I got to take it off to him, and then he'll TIG it in there. And then it's on to intake. I don't know if you heard me talk about this before, but this intake, you can see it's like so rough on the side here. It's almost like you can see there's a casting line or something in it, because they made two different intakes for this. They made a low rise and a high rise. And I think for the high rise, they just added an aluminum plate to the top of the thing. So it's like it's all this rough casting on the side. I'm assuming that's what it is. I don't know. But it's a mess. So I've been thinking about smoothing all this out, but I want to keep that texture on the intake manifold. So I've been working on a couple of things and looking online to see if there was something that kind of duplicates that cast look. And I think I've found out what I'm going to do. I got to still do some tests, but I think we're looking good for that. So look forward to that. Next video will be me drilling and fitting the bung and then getting this thing out to get it welded. And then the intake manifold goes on for good. And then, I don't know, I still got that one spot on the firewall, so I'm going to have to plastic everything off. I don't know why I waited to do this. The whole engine sitting in the car would have been so much easier. As soon as the engine went in, I cracked that little piece off the paint. I should have just fixed it immediately, and I just kept waiting and waiting. So I plastic everything off, and then I'll just sand that one little area and then get it painted back so the firewall looks nice again. And then, yeah, got to get all the pulleys and all the equipment in, and then I got to rebuild that power steering pump. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, bunch of stuff. Well, that's it for now. So again, really appreciate you being here. Subscribe, like, t-shirt shop, find something you like, helps the project, all the good stuff. Anyway, that's all I got for today. This is Hutch from Hutch High Perf. You guys take care of yourselves. See ya.